So in Chapter 5, we're going to talk about polynomials. So it's really exciting. We do a lot with polynomials in algebra. So we're going to start out with the basics so you'll know what a polynomial is. Okay, first we start out with the term monomial. So a monomial basically is just meaning one term. So an example of a monomial could be 5x, or negative 3x squared, or negative 10. Or you could have something like 2x squared y cubed. Those are all examples of monomials. So a monomial can have multiplication in it, like we have here. It can just be a constant, a number, and it can have more than one variable. But notice that you have multiplication in that last term, not addition and subtraction. So a monomial, everything is being multiplied together. Okay? So in a monomial, you can have a coefficient. This is called the coefficient. Oops, that's not how you spell it. Coefficient. Sometimes that's an N. Coefficient. Sometimes they call it the numeric coefficient. So every monomial has a coefficient, a number, and then you have the letters afterward, the variables, and we write those in alphabetical order. Okay? All right. So we can also have what's called the degree of a monomial. So let's look at 5x. So the degree of that monomial, degree, is 1. And it comes from the exponent right there. So that's x to the first power. And so it gets a degree of 1. Okay, so that's that one. So our negative 3x squared, that next term that I wrote as a monomial, that has a degree of 2. The negative 10, you might be wondering about that because it doesn't have a variable, right? It has a degree of 0. Okay, I can say degree is, or the degree, I probably should put the degree is 0. That looks funny the way that is. Okay. All right. A polynomial is when we take more than one monomial and add or subtract it. So a polynomial could be something like 5x plus 3. That's an example of a polynomial. You could have 7x squared plus 2x plus 8. That would be an example of a polynomial. You could have something like 3x squared y squared plus 5xy plus 2x plus 8y plus 7. Now I made mine all addition, but you could have subtraction signs in there as well. Okay, those are all examples of polynomials. When we see this, we notice that we would say it has 2 terms in the polynomial. This one would have 3 terms in the polynomial. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms in the polynomial. So they could ask you something like that, like how many terms are in the polynomial. Okay, so I have to mention something here. All monomials are considered polynomials. So you don't have to have more than one term. You could just have 5x, and that would be considered a polynomial. It's specifically a monomial. Okay, a binomial is a polynomial that has 2 terms. Bi meaning 2. So you could have 3x minus 7. That would be considered a binomial. You could have 25x squared minus 36y squared. That would be considered a binomial because it only has 2 terms. So you'll never guess what a trinomial is. A trinomial has 3 terms. Again, they are all polynomials. Binomials are polynomials, trinomials are polynomials, monomials are polynomials. That's kind of the generic name, polynomials, poly meaning many. And then we have specific names. If it only has 1 term, it's a monomial. 2 terms, it's a binomial. 3 terms, it's a trinomial. So you could have something like x squared plus 6x plus 5. That would be an example, sorry, of a trinomial. Okay? So you might say, well, if they're all polynomials, why do we have those names? Because we use the monomials, the binomials, and the trinomials quite a bit. So, and sometimes we want to be able to say, okay, look at this term, this polynomial, we want to specifically recognize that it's a binomial or a trinomial or a monomial. Do we have like fourth nomials? No, after that we just say polynomials. Okay, so that's an introduction to polynomials.